guys, welcome back to your welcome. Per usual, I'm so excited to be here. Let's talk about a topic that pretty much I've been thinking about for the last few weeks, as I've been just coming into just myself more about like what I need to do to really get to where I want to be, and just having all these aha moments about like, okay, these are the steps that we're going to take, and that is creating a work-life balance. And what that looks like for you, is it achievable? Is it truly achievable? And can you sustain that work-life balance the more success you have and the more you achieve when it comes to your career? So yeah, this topic became a big like discussion, especially amongst women, when the Grede episode came out from Diary of a CEO. And I watched the entire episode because I love Grede and I've always like looked up to her. She's just such a role model for me when it comes to how you can have, honestly, like she's such a role model for me when it came to like, wow, I can have it all, because I just see this woman and she has these like beautiful children and she has this gorgeous life and her husband and like these gorgeous homes, and she has these successful businesses, and she's really like came from like the bottom and is self-made to me. And she came under fire with some people when it came to the question of work-life balance, and I don't think that she said anything wrong in what she said. I think sometimes people just always want to have something negative to say about someone, and I guess that is the price you pay when it comes to having a public platform. And that's also something that I have accepted as I've created more content and just put myself out there and been a lot more vulnerable with things. And I'm also from the university of, if it doesn't apply, let it fly. Like I truly believe like some people just dig into stuff because of their own stuff going on and feeling triggered, and those are things that you need to handle, not necessarily somebody else. But anyway, that's all beside the point. She basically said that like it is achievable, but like if you want to have this extraordinary career, if you feel like you want to be the top of the top, then you are going to have to make sacrifices, and you're going to have to sacrifice some weekends. You're going to have to sacrifice a dinner party. You might have to sacrifice, you know, attending your children's play or back to school night or something, like or taking them to school. Like there are going to have to be sacrifices. And I feel like women are harder on women about this more than men harder on women about this. And I could be wrong in me saying that, but I didn't see any, and this isn't a man's business obviously, so I didn't really expect to see a lot of men commenting on it. But the comments I saw under this video, like, my gosh, like, did y'all listen to the whole episode or just look at the snippet and go, wow, let me just have something negative to say? Because she also said that if you want to have just a normal life, and normal not being a bad thing, but if you want to work a 9 to 5, if you want to just have this structured normalcy, because entrepreneurship is not normal. Being an entrepreneur takes a lot of grit, it takes a lot of grind, it does take a lot of faith, it takes a lot of mental work that I just did not realize, along with the physical actions that you do. But if you want to just live, and that's not just, but if you want to have a normal life, and you know what I mean? Like I come from 2 parents who had 9 to 5 jobs, and had this idea of work-life balance, and that's something that I had to restructure in my own brain about what do I see and what it means to me, but we'll get into that. But if you want to have, like she said, a normal life, you should be able to take vacations, you should be able to have, you know, your weekends off, and to be able to do that. And I know that that still like sounds like it comes from a place of privilege, but coming from someone who literally like came from a single mom household, I'm like, how can y'all tell her anything? Like, yes, she has worked her way up to be able to have things in her life that make her life easier, maybe nannies, maybe a cleaner, maybe whatever. But yes, I do too. Like, and not everyone needs to have those type of goals. So take what applies and let the rest fly. So that is something that I really wanted to talk about, not the take what applies and let it fly, but work-life balance, and how you're able to define that for yourself, and why it's important to define that for yourself, not letting society dictate what that looks like for you, and really trusting and having faith in your journey and creating your dream life. So first, I think it's important to define what work-life balance means to you, because for me, I realized there are going to have to be sacrifices that you make when it comes to where you want to go. And I don't see that as a negative thing. I think that honestly, working a 9 to 5, and for me, working only a 9 to 5 and depending on someone else from my paycheck, the possibility of being laid off, like this government stuff is honestly insane. All of that makes me a little bit more scared than it is just like shooting my shot and taking a chance on myself. And yes, I had to wrap my nervous system around it. And yes, I did make some bad mistakes when it came to letting go of like sources of income when I started real estate. However, I in general feel like when I feel passionate about something, when something is like important to me and I want to make my passion my career, that even in moments where I don't feel like doing something, I do it because I remember the bottom line. I remember that if I set myself up now, that in 2 years time, my hope is that I will have these systems in place, just like I do with real estate. I have these systems in place that will allow my life to be easier. And the more that I make sacrifices now, the more I'm able to have that more work-life balance in the future for what makes sense to me. And I also think that when it comes to women, that I think, and I'm not a mother, so I can't speak fully to this, but I do see some women commenting and saying, why is it that women have to feel guilty for not wanting to be home? Like, why is it that women have to feel like I have to be this amazing mom who goes to work, comes home, like makes dinner, puts her kids to bed, is there for bedtime every night? Why is it that why can't I show my kids that like I make sacrifices so that we can live a great life, but I still am going to make time for you. I may not be there at every single moment that you need me, but I am going to be there during the important times, and I am going to make sure that you're protected and provided for and that you live a joyful life. And if that means that I can't make your soccer game today, kiddo, I'm sorry, but that's because mommy has to work. Mommy has to go out of town. Mommy has an important shoot that I'm making bank on. Like, I don't see why that's a problem. I think, yes, there are limits and there's a fine line, but as a woman, I also enjoy working. I enjoy doing what makes me happy, and work is a part of that. And I don't think that as a woman, we should have to make that a bad thing. I remember my ex, and he would never say it, obviously. And I even hate talking about him. Like, one day he won't even like be a consideration, but just in general, because he's literally like the closest example that I have. But there will be some nights that I wouldn't come home when we lived together till like 8 p.m. And then when I get home, I have stuff to do. Like, oh, I have to put in an offer, I have to do this, I have to do that. And I remember him just being like, really like, you know, but then when he would go out, and I'm obviously making a face on YouTube, but for people who are listening to this, he would just like have an attitude like, okay, like I'm not making time for him. But he also was an entrepreneur and owned a store. So like he would have times where he wouldn't be available. But if I were to have an attitude, it'd be like, you know, I have to work, you know, I have to do this, like blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, it was such hypocrisy surrounding it. And as women, I think we're supposed to be made to feel shameful for wanting to work and to be this like boss babe. And that's just not the case for me. And I've learned to really like work around that. And I'm like, okay, I've just come to the resolve that like my husband's really gonna have to be supportive, just as much as I am supportive of his career and all the achievements that he's doing. I want him to be supportive of that with me as well. And we're both gonna have to make sacrifices when it comes to work and when it comes to our life balance. Like we both might have to turn down something in order to make time for each other, or opposite ways. Like we both have something big in our careers, and we're gonna have to suck it up and know that, okay, well, date night's not gonna happen at this very moment, especially as I'm continuing to elevate. And that's why even this year, I've decided like, I'm just gonna pour all the energy I have, instead of thinking about like who I'm gonna go on a date with and planning dates. And well, I don't ever plan dates, but just being intentionally active, like, and trying to meet a man. Like, instead of doing that, I'm gonna pour those intentions into my career and just give this year all I've got when it comes to that, and let my husband find me, and it all will all align itself when it's supposed to. And I do also think that the universe aligns with what we truly believe. And for me, I think that having a 9 to 5 is harder because there's no possibility of like quick upward expansion. Like, you're kind of, like you're depending on raises and bonuses and things like that, which is safe and does have a lot of value. Like, having a 9 to 5 is a lot of value. And I think that you can not easily, but it's also achievable to climb ladders when it comes to like having a traditional 9 to 5 career. So I'm never going to like down that. Me and my friend talk about that all the time, like the pros and cons of each, being an entrepreneur in like a 9 to 5. But I think that especially my parents, they made making money sound so hard. And so for years I wrapped my head around like making money is hard. And even when I have conversations with my parents now, they're just like, I wish that you had like a job that you knew was going to pay you every month. Like, I wish that you had this and this. And I'm like, I am making sacrifices now so that in the future, I'm never going to have to depend on a 9 to 5 to bring me my money. Yes, I might work with like a corporate company or like, you know what I mean? Like that's going to pay me as a freelancer, but I'm never going to like have to rely on that. And I want to set myself up, and I'm going to set my future up that like I could pay your bills. Like, maybe not my dad, because my dad's a very prideful person, but my mom, like, I have those conversations with her all the time. Like, when I am really financially well off, this is what I want to do. And I have all these plans, and it's not just for me, but it's also about my family. And it's also, I take pride in, and I have value in being the first, or just changing like things that are so engrossed in like my family's belief systems when it comes to money. And that's something that I wanted to shift and change. And so I think it's harder for me to like go down the road of poverty, and harder for me to think about like ways of like saving money versus like taking what people might see as like a hard route of figuring it out and finding ways to expand and grow and succeed and have more achievements in my career. And I feel like the more that you align with what your new belief system is, the more the universe can co-conspire with you to bring forth like those opportunities. And it doesn't have to be hard. And I also tell myself that like the way that I create more balance in my life is by time blocking, like really writing down like what are the things that I need to get done this week, separating that into, okay, what do I need to get done day by day, and then separating that into like, okay, this should take me an hour, this should take me an hour, this might take me like a couple hours, this will take me like 30 minutes. And then I look and I'm like, wow, everything that I need to get done today will take me 5 hours. And so then I do have extra time in that to work out, to watch a show on Netflix, to cook, to do whatever it is that I want to do, paint my nails, whatever it is that I want to do. I do have that time. And I think that also the downside of having a 9 to 5 is I think they say like the average person that works a 9 to 5 actually only works like 4 hours of that 9 to 5 time, and the rest is just like dilly-dally time. And I'm like, I'd rather dictate that myself, like, if I'm honest. And because it's the same thing both any way you spin it, like it's the same thing. You're working 4 to 5 hours. And I think that is healthy. And I think it's also healthy to shift your brain around what hard means and what difficult means, because I know that there are gonna be, and there are some times that I don't feel like doing something, but I have to do it, like, because I know that it's going to set myself up for the future. And so that's where discipline comes in, and not just relying on like feeling motivated or inspired. But I think naturally when you're like, I'm disciplined, I like just shifting your brain around what discipline even means to you, and just telling yourself like, discipline makes me a better person, like, and just rewarding yourself for doing the things you told yourself you're gonna do. The more that you can shift your brain around what seems hard, and it turn into a feeling like an inspired action. And so working out no longer feels difficult or hard, but you were inspired to working out. Recording for YouTube or podcast when I don't feel 100% no longer feels like a chore, but it feels like taking inspired action, because I know that like where it's going to take me, where it's going to lead me. So if you really look at your day and the way that it's structured, how much time are you spending on your phone? How much time are you spending like avoiding tasks that you really need to do, when if you were able to time block and really lump in your day according to what you need to get done, and like how much time really is going to take you to do a task, and then you realize like, wow, now I have the rest of the day free, it really sets you up. And I think that's another reason why I started waking up earlier, like 5:30, between 5:30 and 6, because I realized like when I'm able to have this like flow time in the morning, work out, play with my kitty, meditate, read, journal, do all the things, clean, do all the things I want to do in the morning, and then I start working by 3-4 o'clock, unless I have a like showings or stuff like that, which I'm still trying to find a balance around. Unless I have that going on, then I'm done for the day, and I can relax. I can do other things like that I wanted to do, or I can focus on some more self-care. I can focus on more podcast content. So I do think that really being for real with yourself about how you use your time is really key with being able to really achieve and better achieve a work-life balance. And of course, when you have a 9-to-5, that is more challenging. Like me and my friend were talking about that, because she just had to start going back to the office. She works for the government. And she was just like, wow, like I used to come home and work out, or I used to be done with work and then go work out. But now I'm having to like shift what that looks like when it comes to my work schedule and working out like on lunch break and all of that. And so I can't really relate with that. But I think even with working a 9-to-5, waking up earlier is going to be even more essential for you, because I feel like the more time I have in the morning to just reset and just like flow, the better I feel throughout the day, because I'm not like burnt out by the time I get home from showings, or by the time I'm done with my day, and I just lay on the couch for 2 hours doom scrolling on TikTok, watching something on Netflix, and then I'm like, dang, well, now it's time to get in the bed. And then I just feel like I just wasted the day, or like I had no time to myself. And I felt like by me not waking up early and just like rushing through my day, by the time I was done, I felt like I didn't spend enough time with myself. Like, and especially as a mom, or you live with your spouse or your partner, your boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, even then I felt like, wow, I'm not giving as much time to myself as I would like. And so waking up earlier really shifted that for me. So in general, thinking about your work-life balance and shifting your schedule and being real with yourself about what you need to do and what needs to change in order to create more of that work-life balance that you truly want. Another thing when it comes to work-life balance that I learned is you don't get a trophy for burnout. You don't get a trophy for like overworking yourself and by saying like, yes, I worked from 10 o'clock a.m. to 10 o'clock p.m. And men and women, we work so differently, and we need to realize that as women, we are not men, and we should really transform our schedules to better align with what we experience as women and what we have to do as women, but also B, utilizing our feminine energy to the best of our ability. And for one, it was a big thing for me this week when I was like, wow, I'm really burnt out and my body is about to combust is how I felt like, because my period is about to come on, and I just felt like really just out of it all week. And men don't really experience that and can't relate to that the same way that a woman can. And I probably should go back to this, and this is a recommendation that I have, is also cycle syncing. And with that, that's just like eating and working out around like what's best for the week of your cycle. Like they'll recommend like Pilates for, you know, when you're in luteal, or yoga, like cardio when you are whatever. I don't know all of the phases, I forget, but it was really like impactful when I did do it. So that is something I've been thinking about, but also just not being hard on myself. And that's why I do listen to men podcasts and I read men books, but men books, they are always like, it's like talking to a caveman. He-man, go work 10x. And it's like, okay, but as a woman, how can I relate that to me and my experience, and like be using my feminine energy to align with what it is that is going to work best for me? And so I do gear more towards woman books these days, especially like female entrepreneurs and badasses out there that are like just kicking ass and just taking over the world, like people like Grede. But as a woman, I say that to say that it is important for us to find playtime and embracing playtime, embracing the flow of that. Because I tell you not, I kid you not, I mean, every vacation that I've taken, or any time that I have like taken time for myself, I've always achieved something from that. And that doesn't mean that I didn't do work beforehand to get to that, but I've just rested on my laurels and said, you know what, and gave it to God and moved on and allowed myself to take breaks, allowed myself to rest. And that's when I get the best things sometimes. Like I remember I really hustled before one of my trips and did like a lot of reverse prospecting for a listing that I had. And I was just like, well, I don't know, like it's about to expire, yada, yada, yada. But I just rested my hands. I said, I did the best that I could. I called, I did all this stuff. Like, we'll see what happens. And while I was gone, we got a contract. Came back to an offer and we sold within like 2 weeks of that, cash. So I will say that resting is important, and I just remind myself again, because the universe conspires with what you believe. So if I tell myself that like rest is important and I make money while I rest, like yes, it is going to be important for me, and I'm closing my eyes because this is how I affirm with myself, but I remind myself like, yes, it is important for me to still take inspired actions and to still discipline myself around the tasks that need to get done in order to maintain my systems. But that I've done all I can do. It's important for me to rest. I'm going to allow myself to rest. I still make money when I rest, and great things happen to me when I rest, and allow the universe to show me that. Because again, you don't get a trophy for being burnt out, and the body keeps score. And my body kept score this week, and I couldn't even be mad about it. Couldn't even be mad about it because I did it to myself by not resting enough. So in general, creating a work-life balance is going to be a lot of having a come to Jesus moment with yourself and being honest with yourself about what you want in life, what you want to achieve in life, and what it's going to take to get there. And then revolving your systems and creating systems around that, and allowing yourself to like be okay with not like having instant gratification, knowing that it's gonna take, and it's okay that it takes work, and I'm not gonna say hard work, but it's gonna take like creating systems and creating like steps and being disciplined in those steps and actions in order to reach where you want to go. And that is a real moment that I had to have with myself. Like, yes, I think manifestations are real. I think manifesting is important. I think manifesting is amazing, but in manifesting is also doing the actions and the mental work that it takes to get there. And that's a big thing that I talk about, because that's a big realization that I had to have for myself. Like, yes, I can sit here and be on my couch and say like, I want $1 million. I'm gonna have to do something that involves me getting off that couch in order to do it, whether that is going to the store and buying a lottery ticket, whether that is creating a business, whether that is making an OnlyFans and finding a sugar daddy, whatever it is that you want and whatever makes sense to you. But you're gonna have to like do some physical and mental actions to get there, because you've got to meet God halfway with it. And a big part of that's also gonna be managing FOMO and setting boundaries. And that's not only with like the stuff that you like make your life fun, but also with work and setting boundaries around that. And a big boundary that I learned to set in order to feel more ease in my evenings is putting my phone on do not disturb. So only like my family can get in when I'm on like my focus. Like no one else can bother me, like my clients. And I tell them every single consult, I say, now, unless we are under contract where I will become more available after 8 p.m., my phone's on do not disturb. That's my me time. And they honestly respect it. And the more boundaries you set with your clients and your work, you'll feel better about, because they also know like, oh yeah, she has a life. And I think in America, we really pride ourselves on working hard and who can work the hardest, when in other countries they basically beg you to take holidays. They basically beg you to take time off. Like, no, you need some sabbatical. And so I just utilize that in my own life when it comes to like how I manage my clients, because when they know you have a life, they want to know you have a life. Like, you should have a life. And that's something that I have to remind myself. And again, the more you know what you want and you figure out what's important to you, what you want, I truly think the universe conspires around that. So the universe isn't bringing me clients who don't understand that. The universe knows like, okay, she is serious about putting her phone on do not disturb at 8 p.m. She's not available. So therefore, I only get clients who are understanding of that. And I might have a little test every now and then, and a client that tests my patience and tests my boundaries, like I'm kind of dealing with right now. However, I maintain my boundaries, and either you get with it or you get lost. And I'm also not afraid of missing opportunities that don't align with my values and what I see as important. And I think Immigrant also mentioned that, like, she does find it's important to have time with her family. And sometimes even in doing that, I think even Gabrielle Union turned down a really big, was it Gabrielle Union or no, it wasn't Gabrielle Union, was it Sierra? It was some female artist who turned down a really big like $1 million, oh, I think it was Alicia Keys, because she had date night with her husband, because like, no, we maintain, this is something we maintain. These are my boundaries that I set when it comes to my work. And I think when you make sacrifices like that in your work and you show the universe like, these are my set boundaries, and just because it's like this buku amount of money, that's not gonna allow me to compromise my values, then something even better is gonna come along, because that obviously wasn't meant for you if it was going to obstruct and take away from your values and the work-life balance that you've set already. So in general, do I think work-life balance is achievable? Yes. Do I think that as we climb the ladder that it can get a little bit more difficult and we have to adjust and formalize what work-life balance it really means to you in every stage of your success? I do think that. So come back next year and we'll have a follow-up conversation about this, because y'all, I am so serious about being where I want to be, to the point where today is Saturday. I am going out with my friends, and I told myself before I go with my friends, I have to record. And that was my reward, is recording and then being able to go out with my friends. Well, that is this week's episode. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. I am gonna go out and get some vitamin D in the sun before it rains for the next few days. I hope you guys have a great Memorial Day weekend if you're watching in the States. If you're not in the States, then the holiday means nothing to you. But if you are, like I said, I hope that you have a great long weekend, that you do something for yourself. This is a perfect opportunity to create that work-life balance. What does that mean for you? What does that mean for you? Does that mean sacrificing Saturday like I am to get some work done? Or does that mean allowing yourself to have fun this weekend? What does that mean for you? Neither way is right or wrong. It's all about what you choose, and just knowing that you ultimately have the choice. Even if it doesn't feel like it in your life right now, whether you are struggling at your 9-to-5 or you're a struggling entrepreneur, or you just see and you visualize such an amazing life for yourself, it is achievable. And these are things that I tell myself, like, the life that I want is achievable. I can have it all. Despite what anyone says, I can have it all. And it is your job. It's your job to choose what you believe. And if you think that you can truly have it all, then you absolutely can. And I'm here to remind you of that. And we're gonna look back on this episode in a year and go, whoa, life is so different. And I'm excited to see where we are. And I'm excited to be along this journey with you. As always, if you enjoyed this episode, I would please ask that you follow, like, share, subscribe, leave comments. I really enjoy just chatting with you and just building this community. And as you guys know, community is so important to me, and I'm just very grateful for the community that I have built and am continuing to building. So thank you, ladies and gents, if you're listening, for listening to this week's episode. I know that, again, it's late, but it's here, and I will be back next week to chat with you guys about another aha moment. In the meantime, I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.